So this is what I like to include in a proposal. First of all is a business overview. Who is your client? What does their business do? And what are their what are their objectives when it comes to working with you? Then I would include a list of the deliverables that you've agreed upon with your clients. In the deliverables section, this is where I would also include your quote. So you're listing out everything that you're expected to deliver on your project. And at the end of that section, I would include a quote, either for the overall project or you can itemize your deliverables. I would also include a delivery timeline when they should expect those deliverables by. And I would also include a section about revisions. How will you handle revisions? What kind of lead time do you need for revisions? How much are revisions going to cost? How many revisions are included in your quote? It's also useful to include a section on reporting. How do you plan to report on your project? Will you provide weekly reports, monthly reports? Are you sending timesheets? Depending on your project, it's good to outline the expectations when it comes to reporting. Next, I would include a section on communication. How do you plan to communicate with your client and how often? Will you be communicating via email? Will you use something like Slack to send instant messages to each other? And also, when are you available? What are your working hours? And how long should your clients expect for a reply to their emails or their messages? This is where you can really set your boundaries. If you're not working on weekends, then you should be able to tell your client that you're not available on the weekends. If you have planned holiday time, you should also include that in this section as well. Next section, payment terms. How are you going to be accepting payment? Do you need a deposit up front? Will you be tracking your hours and billing at the end of the month? If you are selling hours or packages of hours, do the hours roll over into the next month or do they have to be used in this month? Things like that. So this is the important part that you need to get right so that you're all agreeing on the same terms. And if anything goes awry, you can always refer to this proposal or the contract, which might also include this information so that you can solve any dispute really easily. I would also include your payment method. How will you accept payments? Will it be through a credit card? Will it be a direct wire transfer? Will it be through PayPal? Make this really, really clear. And also you will be including this information on your invoice as well, so they'll get reminded of how to pay you. But it's important to include this information on the proposal as well. Now, if your proposal is really, really thorough like this, you can use this as a basic agreement. And you can have a section at the bottom where you can both sign the agreement and date the agreement, and that could be a form of contract. But this doesn't include all the kind of nitty-gritty stuff in a contract. That also includes stuff like copyright protection. It includes stuff about how cancellations are handled, about refunds and things like that. So this is why you might want a contract as well as the proposal. The proposal should be the first thing that you send your client so they can see kind of a general idea of what they're paying for and what it's like to work with you. And once that sort of proposal or agreement is signed, then you can kind of move on to the more formal contract itself. It's an example of a proposal template that we have inside of my private membership, the Inner Circle for Virtual Assistants. And you can see it is a Google Doc that I've just created that is a read-only document, and members of our Inner Circle can create a copy of this that they can edit and make their own. And what I've done here is basically just given you the bare bones of what I think should go in a proposal template. So as you can see here, the first thing that you would find is probably your business logo or your business name. It's a nice way to get your branding out there and it makes you look really professional. And then these sections here are kind of all the technical stuff, your client details, business name, contact, email address, the date that you're sending the proposal, and then kind of a little bit of a intro here, just being nice to your client. You'd write something if you've met with them to discuss their needs and to discuss your project. And this section here I really like because it lists out or it identifies an end date for the offer. So we've written here, please note this offer is valid until, and then you put your desired end date for the proposal. So I've written here for at least a week. And the reason I like doing this is because I don't want them to get the proposal and forget about it and then come back to you a month later and say, hey, this looks good, let's go ahead with it. You want to create a little bit of urgency with your proposal. You don't want to be left hanging. So you want to include a deadline for how long the offer is valid for. This also gives you a really good reason to email them. If you feel icky about following up or anything like that, this is a really good way to, and a really good excuse to follow up with them. So next we have the business overview. So in the business overview section, I would just write in my own words what you believe their business does. This lets you showcase to your client that you understand their business and their business needs. And then in the next section, business objectives, I would include here rather what you discussed on your call together, what their goal is for hiring you, what they want to achieve, and what they want the outcome to be by working with you. This is where you can also include your approach to their problem and their challenges and how you will execute the project. In the next section, we have our deliverables section. So this is where you outline exactly what you are going to be delivering to your client. And what I've included here is 2 examples of what deliverables might look like. The first example here is a project deliverable. So you are basically delivering a Squarespace website copy. So what exactly are you providing copy for? We've listed here the home page, the about page, the services page, the contact page, and any additional things that they might need for their copy, and any additional things they might need in terms of getting this website up and live with the copy. So you will likely supply a one-off project fee for this project, and this is where you can list the actual rate for that. Now, if you're someone who's selling hours, packages of hours, here's an example of how you can outline what you will hope to achieve and what you've agreed to achieve in a package of hours that you're selling. For instance, in this example, we've created a package of 10 hours per month at $600. And this is what you accept, what your client and you expect to achieve within those 10 hours in that month. So in this delivery timeline section, it's probably most useful for project-based work, which has a clearer start time and a clearer end time. So the example I've used here is, let's say you can write for the website, we can begin work on December 1st with an aim to have a complete website up and running by week commencing December 11th. This timeline is dependent on the number of revisions and how quickly we receive them. If you're doing ongoing VA work, which kind of is on a month-to-month basis, then it's harder to actually pin down a delivery timeline, but you can use this wording if nothing specific about your projects has been discussed. So you can say something like delivery timeline for ongoing VA tasks can be discussed based on the needs of each task. So the revision sections, you want to be clear how you're dealing with revisions. Revisions are often kind of the thorn in the side of a lot of freelancers, because a lot of clients think that they can get as many revisions as they want for free. A lot of clients delay projects because they delay their feedback for revisions. So it's a really big sticking point, and it can really cause a massive bottleneck for a project moving forward. So this is some example wording you can use for revisions. You can say our rates include 1 full round of revisions. We ask that edits are kindly supplied within 1 week of delivery of the project. Revised deliverables will be delivered within 3 working days of receipt of edits, unless otherwise advised. Additional revisions beyond this will be charged at an hourly rate of $50 an hour. So this is where you're setting really clear expectations as to how their requests for edits are going to be handled. Reporting, this is where you discuss how you're going to be how you're going to be sort of updating on the progress of the project, or how your VA hours are being used. So we've included some example wording here. You can say something like, we track our time using Toggle, and we update our time tracking sheet every Monday, at which point we will update you with tasks completed the week before. You can say where the time tracking sheet, so that your client sheet lives, so that your client can go and check on it whenever they want. And things like that. If you're reporting on a project, you can talk about how often you'll be sending them updates. Maybe it's once a week, every 2 weeks, maybe it's once a month. So the communication section, I like having this in here because it really sets the tone of what your relationship is going to look like moving forward. And this is an opportunity for you to really set your boundaries. And it's important that we do that from the get-go. So here's some example wording I've included here. The Karis creative team is available between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. GMT, Monday to Friday, via email and an alternative communication platform of your choosing, example, Slack, Asana only. So you're basically saying here, you're not going to be accepting text messages. You're not going to be expecting WhatsApp messages. You're only going to be communicating via email, and your chosen other communication platform, instant messaging platform, possibly like Slack. I also really like to outline how I'm going to be accepting calls and meetings. And I've written here, we will not take calls or meetings unless scheduled 48 hours in advance. So I'm someone who really, really values and protects my time. And I really dislike it when clients call me out of the blue or they schedule a meeting for a really short notice, because I like to have my weeks and my days planned out in advance. And if a client calls me out of the blue, it throws everything out of order. And I really dislike that. So I'm setting the expectations from now. We're happy to set up recurring monthly meetings at the request of the client. Time used for meetings and calls will come out of the hourly package. So you want to set expectations again here that meeting times are going to be charged, and you should absolutely be charging for your meetings, especially if you're a virtual assistant and you're charging hourly. Meetings and calls should be coming out of their packages. So payment term sections. This is also really important. It's probably one of the things that your clients is going to look at. How are you going to get paid? Do you need a certain amount up front, a deposit? Will you have installments in place? Let us know how you want to receive payment. So here's some example wording I've included for you. For VA packages, invoices are issued at the start of the month. Payment is due within 1 week of issue. You can make these whatever you want, whatever you're comfortable with. For project-based work, 50% of the agreed rate is to be paid before work on the project commences, and the remaining 50% upon successful completion and delivery. Your hours, if you're selling hours, how will your hours be used every month if they're not, if not all of your hours are being used? Do they roll over into the next month? And also, what if your client is using more hours than they paid for at the start of the month? You can say something like, hours used over the hours within the purchase package are charged at an additional $10 per hour to the hourly rate. So if you purchased a silver package at $60 an hour, the overage rate is $70 per hour. So this is so that your client doesn't take advantage of you and ask you to do way more stuff every month than you initially agreed to, because you have to remember, you have to, the whole point of selling packages of hours is so that you can better plan your time and your bandwidth. And if your client is taking advantage of your bandwidth and overusing you a little bit, then you should definitely discuss how you're going to handle any overage that you are charging them. And the payment method. How are you actually going to accept payment? This doesn't have to be very comprehensive. You can just clearly outline, we accept payment via PayPal or direct bank transfer, whatever you want to do to accept payment. And just at the end, you can have a little section here. If you're happy with all of the above, please initial or sign a copy of this letter in the spaces provided below and kindly send it back to me. So if your proposal is really comprehensive like this, it can almost serve like as an agreement or like a statement of work or like a pre-contract contract. It doesn't go into the nitty-gritty details of what a normal contract would typically cover. So things like intellectual property and how that is handled, how privacy is handled, and how refunds are handled or cancellations of projects. That would kind of go into the contract section. This proposal is very much centered around the work that you've been agreed to do, how you're going to work together, the communication style, the expectations basically of what your working relationship is going to look like. So that is very much a proposal. If you kind of agree on these terms and if the deliverables look okay to both parties, if the quote looks okay to both parties and everything else in terms of communication,
then you can agree to move forward on this basis of what your working relationship would look like. You can both sign this agreement, date this agreement, and then commence to the next stage, which is your contract, which kind of outlines the more legal aspects of working together. And what I like to do at the very end is include a little section for testimonials, probably just one testimonial, just to kind of sweeten up the proposal a little bit and make clients really excited to work with you.
If you've liked this video and you want more videos just like this, then hit the subscribe button below where you'll get notified of my new video coming out next week. And if you want to be part of a thriving, inspiring, motivating community of women who are growing online service-based businesses, then do come and join my Inner Circle for Virtual Assistants. It's a monthly subscription platform where we do live coaching sessions, we share job opportunities, and templates and all of that wonderful stuff. So if that sounds like something that you'd like to be a part of, then click on the link below in the description to get all of the details on how to become a member. Thank you so much again, and I will see you next week.